Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by the owner of the Maximum Fighting Championships, Mark Pavelich. Mark, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. Mark, take me back to the beginning. How did you get into MMA?
Well, it's funny because when I started, I was sitting around. At one time, I owned an entertainment business, and I also owned a martial arts school where I taught Jeet Kune Do, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I didn't teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I taught the Jeet Kune Do. I taught empty hand combat. I taught a bunch of stuff, right? So I was sitting around we had like a juice bar one day, and 14 years ago, and some guy goes, "Mark, did you ever see this Japanese pancrase stuff?" And I was like, "No, I never seen it before." So then we put on this video, and I watched it, and that's when I fell in love with, technically at the time, the sport of MMA.
And you were training guys in Jeet Kune Do, and a student of yours, Mark G. Schultz, did you approach him about getting MMA legal, or was it the other way around? Did he come to you and say, "Hey, I need help"?
I came to him because what happened was that I knew we could get it legalized, but I knew at the time I couldn't afford the amount of, the cost would have been, it's unbelievable to, you know what I'm saying, the amount of stuff that we did, it would have been insane. I would have been dead broke by the time the end of it. Martin did basically everything pro bono, and he loved the sport of mixed martial arts. He trained with me at the time, so if it wasn't really for him doing all that stuff, we probably wouldn't have got it sanctioned.
How long did it take to get it legalized?
I can't even remember. I'm not joking. My wife and I joke about it all the time because we were in so many city council meetings and we were in so many, things like that I don't even remember. To me, it was like another world, because I really honestly don't remember how long it took. I know it was over a year, and for me, there was just so much work involved. And, it's funny because I think a lot of people forget that, though. Like I said, I don't expect people to make a statue out of me anywhere. But in my country, a lot of people, a lot of people don't pay any attention that, we're basically the very first mixed martial art show, probably, longest running in Canada, one of the longest running in the world. And I'm telling you, the shows in Canada, they don't, I'm not saying they need to show homage, but they don't show any respect towards that at all.
Mark, after it got legalized, was it, I'm going to start promoting, or when did that whole thing come together? When did you decide, hey, I'm going to start running my own show?
Immediately. I was like, let's figure this out, let's get it done, and that's what happened. And I was so excited. And my first few shows were off the chart. You know what I mean? It was crazy, massive sellouts and snowstorms. I mean, craziness, right? And what happened was early on in the game, I thought I could go anywhere, do anything I wanted, and that's why I got in trouble in the sport, because I started taking the show in other areas, and people at that time didn't even know what it was. So you would think, they're just going to come and watch it, but that wasn't the case at all. There was a lot of detractors towards mixed martial arts at the time. So that was my problem when I started. Initially, I did great, and then there was a little period of time where I lost a lot of money because I thought, I'll just put a show there, and I'll put a show there, and I'll just do whatever I want. And it's like, I went to those places, and there wasn't this really, great reception. Well, what happened was my wife was never involved. That's what people don't understand either. They always thought that it was just myself doing the show and yada, yada, yada. And it's weird because when my wife got involved, that's when we really took off with the Maximum Fighting Championship. And the reason being is because she always looked at the sport. My wife could care less about MMA. She loves the MFC, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So my son and I were we were going crazy. We wanted to do this, and she was always in the background going, wait a second, guys. Think about the MFC. Stop thinking about MMA. Think about our brand. And we're the only MMA show probably on the world outside that doesn't, UFC is the best show in the world, but we don't show homage to them. We don't bow down to them. You won't see nothing on our website about them. We're our own brand of MMA, and we religiously stuck to that. And I think that's made a lot of people mad at us, and I think that's made a lot of people kind of say, who do they think they are? And it's like, I give them the analogy. It's like, McDonald's was around and Burger King opened up, and I'm sure McDonald's said, who does Burger King think they are?
Right.
And that's the analogy I can give to people that they can understand where we're at with this. And it's like we're a family business, and we're the largest mixed martial arts show in Canada, and one of the largest in the world. That's what people in the world, and we're a family-run business, and we'll always be that way.
You haven't taken any outside money. You had no investors when you got started. Where did you come up with the money for this?
Corporate partnership, corporate sponsorship.
Right.
We were really we've had so many people want to buy into the MFC, and we've had so many people, and it's just like we've never been overly comfortable with that, and we've come to a place where we know that if we want to get to the next level, and when I say the next level, that means to be the direct competitor of the UFC, never take them over, but at least be on the playing field, we would have to probably sell a portion, not a controlling interest, but a portion of the MFC to people. But there are people that we would have to seriously get along with, understand that the Pavelich family runs the Maximum Fighting Championship. Then that's something we'd be interested. But that's only came to fruition in the last, say, year or so, that we realized that, to take it one more step, we would need to probably do that.
Your TV deal with HDNet, was it just you were looking for any TV deal and HDNet popped up, or were you pursuing them? How did that partnership come together?
No, I like Mark Cuban, So it's not that I was like other people are like fans of his. I wasn't. I just like him. I like him in a way of his demeanor. I like that he's a down to earth guy. I like that he's a guy that drinks Corona instead of Louis XIV wine. I like that he's a guy that can wear he wears a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and that's who he is. And so I could relate to that. So for me to speak with him, it was very easy. And one thing I like about Mark is that he doesn't like excuses. He wants you to deliver, and he doesn't really want to hear little petty excuses, and that's what I've done in our relationship for all these years. And it's like I don't make excuses, I deliver, and I like the pressure of being to consistently have to deliver because that's who we're in business with.
I've seen interviews that you've done in the past, and you've always said, you don't watch the UFC, you've never watched Bellator, you don't watch Strikeforce. How much MMA have you watched in your lifetime, non-MFC?
I watched don't forget, I used to train Jason McDonald and manage him, and Victor Valimaki, and I've been in the UFC, 15 to 20 times, right? But the funny part is, when I used to go to UFC, I never hung around with people there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not that guy. I'll never be that guy. I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I wasn't hanging out taking pictures with Dana White. You know what I'm saying? I would never do that. That's not in my DNA. And then I realized at a point in kind of my career that I had to stop training guys and managing guys because I wanted to be the owner of the biggest MMA show in Canada, one of the biggest in the world, and I couldn't be doing those other things while I was doing that. So, I think UFC is the biggest show in the world by a million miles, but I think the other shows, I think Strikeforce is basically a foregone conclusion that it's just kind of going to fizzle out.
Right.
And the other show that you mentioned, Bellator, I don't look at them as any kind of real formidable business. I don't think they're making 10 cents in the mixed martial art business. So, the facade of what they do is what they do, and I mean, they're going to continue on doing business, and that's their thing, right? But I've never watched their show. I've watched UFC, I have watched Strikeforce, but I've never watched Bellator, never.
Now, Mark, as of today, what do you think has been your best event?
I think I like my last one because it was crazy, but I think the best event to date right now would probably be Caesars Windsor. We had 6,000 people there. I was basically grew up in the city where that was, which is very far from where I live now. So for me, that was by far the best show, that I was a part of. The last MFC too was phenomenal. I liked the idea that there was a ton of controversy. There was, the usual, great, some great fights, controversial decisions, yada, yada, yada. like a lot of craziness went on, So
Yeah, right.
I like shows with lots of craziness.
There's been so many great moments. Some of my favorite moments have to be when Pete Spratt knocked out Nathan Gunn, when Pat Healy submitted Ryan Ford. I mean, the list just goes on and on. What's your favorite moment?
I mean, I can't pick one out of 13 years, It's like,
right.
There were so many cool ones. Listen, let's be honest. A really moving moment for me was when Drew Fickett came to fight in MFC in his first fight, and he beat a guy in like 20 seconds or whatever it was.
Right.
And me and him had so much controversy in our life, and he was going through so many hard things in his life, and he came into MFC and beat a guy like Matt Veach in like seconds,
Right.
Who at that time was so highly touted.
Right.
And it just showed that, you can always make a comeback in this sport, and I'm a sucker for a happy ending. So those type of things, they stick out in my head. There was so many, man. Like, even Nathan Coy's last fight, just the level that he was on, and I don't know, listen, the knockout of Pete Spratt with Gunn is probably the best knockout I've ever seen in MMA.
Right.
I know people, we can debate the fact that which one was the best one, or which, we all can do that. But at the same time, as I really believe that I was the best one, it was just so sick. And Pete kind of walked away when he did it, and that's what was the cool part.
Right.
Some people in MMA, jump on the guy and do the rest of the stuff, and Pete just kind of walked away, and I thought that was the coolest thing, because it was very Muhammad Ali-esque.
Right. Mark, you've had a lot of great fighters fight in your organization, but who do you think is the best MFC fighter? Meaning, who's the best guy that did the most in your organization? Because you've had guys like Ben Henderson fought for you, but now, he's doing great things in a different organization. Who's the best guy, would you say?
You mean like ever?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a tough question. That's a great question, man, but it's the toughest ever. Oh, the best ever. Oh,
yeah.
My God. I don't know, man. Maybe, I'm going to say, I think it's Dwayne Lewis. I think he's the best ever. Because he was the guy, he's the best ever. 100%. He would be the best, and then Jason McDonald would be the next. And they're the best for certain reasons. Dwayne Lewis was the guy that kind of flunked out of the MFC early on in his career, went and fought in smaller shows, came back, started doing really well in the MFC, always put his guts on the line, always fought hard, always never made excuses. I fought shows injured, fought shows hurt. I mean, he was that guy that, that I could relate to, that, and he had a huge fan base on top of it. So that's the guy that I would say, and Jason McDonald, he was a big part of the MFC, for many years, and he did a lot for the organization. Currently, you got guys like Mukai Moromo, Luke Harris, Tim Hag, these are guys now that are kind of like into the MFC, and they're real MFC fighters, and I love that. You show me that you're a real MFC guy, and I'll show you, I'll give you it back in, tenfold.
Right. Mark, now some present-day stuff. Your expansion to the United States, a lot of people are waiting to see that, and some people in Canada are waiting for you to, move across your country, because you've basically been doing shows solely in Edmonton. When are we going to see some of this?
But what's funny, Mike? That's a great question, but what's funny? Someone sent me the other day, I think it was yesterday night, and I was up really late working, and they sent me the press conference, the post-press conference of Dana White in Florida, right? And I thought to myself, why do people send me this stuff? And on occasion, I will watch it, of course, right? So I watched the post-press conference, and he was saying how horrible the attendance was in Florida, how horrible the commission was to deal with, how the media was unbelievable, it gave them so much media attention, and they drew close to less than 6,000 people. The gate was horrible. All these things, and that's Dana White saying that, right?
Right.
So you look at it and you go to yourself, wait a second. Front row to the Maximum Fighting Championship in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada is $600. Right? So that's what I look at, right? Second row is $300, right? So what I'm trying to explain to people is this is a mathematical thing. When I have the opportunity to go to Caesars Windsor like I did, I will take those opportunities, but Caesars bought the show. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me, it was easy to go, okay, I'll do that and things like that. And, I'm very careful, right? I could go and say, okay, I'm going to go to to Chicago to do a show and lose a bunch of money and say, oh, I was in the United States. This is what I do for a living. I don't have another job, right? So if I take a hit, I take a hit, but I don't do other things. So that's what people don't understand. The majority of people in the MMA business in the world have another job.
Right.
I'm in the minority, and I'm telling you, I'm in a very small minority. You know, the majority of other people, they're accountants or they're whatever they do on the side, and then they do mixed martial art business.
A lot of people have been wondering, you were going to move to a cage, but then you switched back to a ring. Is it just depending on the commission, or are you staying with the ring forever?
I'm neurotic. I'm very neurotic, right? And there's no, I'm neurotic in a good way, but I don't like the cage. I hate it. I've never liked the cage, and I have a really beautiful looking cage because I was, forced to get it, and I just don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Right.
So for me, it's very difficult because I'm like, I don't like it, and I tell people that, okay, we're gonna do the cage thing, right? And then I switched my mind at the last second. Go, no, I don't want to do the cage thing because I don't like it. I never liked it. I'm never gonna like it, and if I have to go back to Ontario and use a cage, I have a great looking one, but I don't like it. I don't like any of it.
Now, Mark, you're bringing back the heavyweight division. Why did you stop promoting that for a little while?
Because we had a few fights in our organization where, to me, and these guys weren't like, these guys were like semi-highly ranked heavyweights, and at that time they were very out of shape and they didn't look the right way, and I have a problem with that, so I stopped it. And then now I'm going to return, and I mean, it's crazy because when I announced that we have the heavyweight division now, we have a gazillion people that want to come in the heavyweight division, and I was very honest with all those people. I get guys sending me resumes that are 12-1, but they look like your Uncle Tony that ate too many cheeseburgers, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to put those guys in MFC. I don't care what the record is. There has to be an element of aesthetics that come along with what you're doing, and I won't run those guys in MFC. I won't. You have to be in shape. I don't care if your record's 20-1 and you've done this and done this, but you look terrible. I'm not bringing you here.
At the end of this year or at the start of next year, will we have champions in every weight division?
I think so. By this time next year we will, It's like, that's another thing too. I've never been in a massive rush to like, people are like, oh, well, this is vacant or that one's vacant and whatever. And it's like, I've never been that guy. I'm not going to just, I need to fill the spots, like I'm so desperate to, fill spots. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be that guy. If it's vacant, it's vacant for a reason, and that's it. And when it gets filled, it gets filled. But, I mean, we're going to put people in the positions to fight for those titles, but they're going to be warranted. They're not going to be just because I have nothing better to do, like other organizations. That's an epidemic in our sport,
Mark, I've always been curious. Guys like Trevor Prangley, Pat Healy, guys like that who were champion in your organization and weren't defeated to lose the belt, they just left to go to a different organization. Did they have to give you the belt back?
Of course.
Yeah.
Listen, Healy was different. That was a contract thing, so that wasn't because he left the MFC.
Oh.
Prangley left and wanted to come back. We never took him back. So this is the part of the business, right? And trust me, when people leave the MFC, they're not leaving it. They leave it for probably one reason and one reason only. But 99% of people, they want to go to the UFC. That's basically it. Outside of that, it's very rare that one time it happened with another organization. So the bottom line is because it's a money issue. But if you ask those fighters on the down low and say, hey, what organization's better? They're going to tell you the MFC. Because it is. We're better. We're better in all aspects. We're better for media attention. We're better for constantly having them fight more. Things like that. So they find that out after, and then they feel bad, and then they want to come back. And most of the time, we don't take them back.
Right. Douglas Lima was a guy who left to go to a different organization. I know you've said that that's something that you regret and you wish that you would have locked him down to a new contract. Is there any other guy out there that you've had and left to go to an organization that you've...
No, Douglas Lima was the only one ever that I ever regretted that I didn't do the deal. And then the funny part is he just lost in that organization. So you won't hear about him for like a long time now. When's his next fight? Nobody knows. See, so if you go and interview him and ask him about the MSC, he'll probably tell you something different. He'll probably tell you something very positive about our organization, and that's the difference, right? And I like I said, we've been here a very long time, and we're going to be here, longer than most, and we're going to consistently have these interviews where people go, talking about this show. One time I was talking about Elite XC. People were talking about me to Elite XC, and they were talking to me about Affliction Fighting Championships. And I was, where are those people now? Where are they now? They're gone. They're all gone. I'm still standing. Where are they? Gone. I remember shows even locally in my same area. People talking about these shows that are going to compete with the MFC. Where are they today? They're gone. Right? There's always going to be these trolls that pop up and put on shows, but where are they? They're gone. I can remember, 2 years ago doing it. Mark, what do you think about Elite XC and you, and what do you think about Affliction Fighting Championships and the Maximum Fighting Championships? And I used to tell people, what do I care? They're not going to be here in a few years. Guess what? They're not. They're gone. They're all gone. Right? So, and now we have a new breed of certain shows that are here, and it's like, I have a hard time talking about them because they're not going to be here, and I'm still going to be here. The only thing that's going to stop me is death. Nothing else, right?
Right.
No one's going to outwork me. No one's going to outgain me. No one's going to outsmart me in the MMA business. Listen, in everything else in the world, I'm pretty sure they can. But in the MMA world, I have a gift, right? And that's the only thing I have a gift in. I can't tell you about, an engine in a car. I can't tell you about, certain things. But in the MMA world, I really have a hard time talking to people about certain things because not alone that I own the biggest organization in Canada, I also I know how to set up a ring or a cage. I know how to manage a fighter. I know how to train a fighter. I know how to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I could take you from being the dishwasher in the restaurant to running the restaurant.
Right.
Very few people in the MMA world can do that, and they even speak about it.
Is there anything in the MMA world that you haven't done?
No. Everything.
Everything.
I haven't fought.
Right.
So
You're right.
I haven't fought, but I sparred everybody. I sparred all my people I trained with, like Jason McDonald and the rest of them, all of them. At one time or another, we sparred together. So, but that's the only thing I haven't done. But I mean, I'm old and broken now. So
right.
I'm 44, and I have the back of probably about a 75-year-old.
You mentioned the Elite XCs, the Afflictions, the Bodogs, all those organizations that are gone now. What do you attribute your success to? Is it not signing everybody who's available and throwing a bunch of money at these guys? Is it?
That's exactly right. I mean, it's amazing how easily you could say that out loud, and it's amazing how many people can't follow what you just said.
Right. Does it also have to do with, like you said earlier, I'm not going to go to every market and lose a bunch of money? Is that something that you've kept your show where you can make money?
That's the hardest thing, Mike. That's the hardest thing, because you want to go, and you want to go, okay, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go do this, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you, man, that's the hardest thing for me to not do, because I want to go to the States tomorrow. But do I want to go there and lose, $50 grand to say that I went to the States? No, I don't. So, it's a slow process, and I really don't have an overabundance of patience. But along the way, I've learned to, kind of have some version of patience, because you have no choice. It's just so frustrating because you want to go to these places, but it's like some of these markets now are so oversaturated with these smaller shows that the fans themselves don't even know the difference between one show or another. The only show they'll know the difference to is probably the UFC.
Mark, is there any chance that we'll ever see women's fights in the MFC?
Never.
Why? Not a lack of depth?
Never. Just never. It's just, it's funny. I heard someone else ask someone else that question yesterday, and they were trying to be politically correct about it. And I'm like, I can't be. I like a lot of the female fighters too. Ronda Rousey, I think she's awesome. I think there's a bunch of them that are really, really good. And there's about 3 or 4 really good ones, and then the rest are just not very good. So for me, I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it as a novelty. I'm not going to do it as a last ditch effort. It's just never going to happen in the MFC, and that's a great thing, because at least I can be honest with people. I don't have to, monkey around and, kind of pretend like it might happen, and, these other things. I just won't do it. It's just never going to happen.
Will we ever see a bantamweight or featherweight division, or are you just going to stick?
Hope so. I sure hope so. I really hope that happens. So for me, I need to, keep an eye out, because I think the 135 division right now, I think there's a lot of really great talent that is available that can start a great division.
Mark, you have some downtime right now because your next event is in August. What do you do right now? Are you preparing for the event in August, or are you looking forward? What exactly do you do?
Preparing for the event in August and the one in October, I usually do 2 at a time.
Okay.
So I'm preparing for both of them as we speak, and that's what I'm doing right now. I took about a week off after the last show because the last show really kicked me up in the gut hard because we really had to push hard for that one, and it was awesome and it was a great sellout. But there was such an aftermath of that show because there was poor officiating, there was poor judging, there was poor everything, and that's not me saying that. That's just the world saying that. So I'll have to deal with that.
Mark, hypothetical question. If the UFC, Bellator, all those other organizations go out of business today, who's the first guy you sign?
Clinton Jackson.
Really?
I know, crazy answer, eh?
Right. Hey,
I don't know why. Because you know why? There's very few people in the MMA world that can sell a fight, and that's what I've always been amazed by, because boxing, they have everybody. The kid that's fighting on the undercard in a boxing show can sell a fight better than 90% of any mixed martial art fighter, and that's a downfall in our sport. We don't have people that can sell fights. Chael is the best in the MMA world. He's the best by a million miles. And I think listen, I love Anderson Silva. I think he's a great ambassador for the sport, but he can't sell a fight at all.
Right.
And that's a problem, because it's great that you do your fighting in the ring, but when you do your fighting in the ring, it's too late, because that kid or that person didn't relate to you and didn't buy the pay-per-view or didn't come watch it live. So it's over. Great that you do your talking in the ring, but the fight's over.
Right.
In the ring. You need the people to come prior. So, those are the kind of people I just love, I love the Diaz brothers, I love everything about them. So, I love their defiance, I love their way they fight, and I love the defiance of the way they do things, and, they question things, and they criticize things, and I am okay with that.
Right. Mark, I saw you speak at the Fight Summit, and before you got into your speech and your presentation, you asked everyone in the room, do you want the truth or do you want me to lie to you?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I can tell you, and I hate to talk like that, but it's like, it's true, it's like, do you want me to put a slideshow up here at the Fight Summit and start doing PowerPoints with you? You can ask me anything. Do you understand? That's the weird part. I hate, and I know it sounds even arrogant, but it's not, because I'm not talented in nothing else. So I'm telling you, I'm being honest. I'm for real. I have zero talent. I play racquetball 3 times a week with people, and I have no talent in racquetball. But I go there 3 times a week and take a severe beating for years, okay,
right.
In racquetball, right? But I don't claim to be this. I don't give people advice about racquetball. Even I'm probably better than if a normal Joe Schmo comes, I beat him easily, right? But the people I play with are all national champions and stuff. But do you think I'm standing around giving out racquetball advice to people? Absolutely not. Because I'm not an expert in racquetball. I'm an expert in one field and one field only, and it's mixed martial arts. And that's why, even for me to come to do fight summits and things like that, I'm very uncomfortable, because there's nobody, and I mean nobody at a fight summit that speaks that knows more about MMA than me. I'm telling you right now. The funny part is, the best thing I'm at in MMA is not even promoting. It's probably training. I can take an average fighter, which I've done on numerous occasions, and bring them to the highest level of mixed martial arts. And I've done it on numerous occasions. And that's the number one thing that I'm best at. But that's the thing I don't do anymore. But that's probably the thing I'm best at.
Mark, I appreciate you being so generous with your time today. Twitter, Facebook, website, where can fans keep up with you and the MFC?
Well, the Maximum Fighting Twitter page is at Maximum Fighting, and then my personal one is my name, Mark Pavelich, at Mark Pavelich, and then our website, you can go to MaximumFighting.com or MFC.tv, either one, and our Facebook pages are Maximum Fighting Championship, and they're all doing really well. Social media-wise, we're doing quite well, and we've learned a lot about it in the last year, and we've really been pursuing pursuing that heavily. And, we still have a long way to go before we start hitting Kim Kardashian numbers, but,
right.
We're trying hard.
Do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, anything like that?
All my sponsors are awesome. I mean, let's be honest, HDMed, without them, we wouldn't be in the situation we are. And starting this summer, it's going to change to Access TV, which, Mark Cuban and Lang Seacrest went into business together, which is very exciting. And there's going to be a lot of more viewership with that brand changeover. And, my local sponsors, I hate to even call them local because they're actual, they're spread across Canada, but the Flamin Fitnesses and the Crystal Glasses and the Nicholson Chevrolets, and they're just awesome. I'm very blessed to have that type of sponsorship between North America wide and then Canadian wide, and there's just a lot of great sponsors, and we would never be where we are today if we didn't have them.
Mark, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.